Welcome back to the Reese Report. I'm the mouth of the North, Andrew Reese, and we are back to discuss a topic that got hot during the Super Bowl. That's right. We weren't talking about the Super Bowl. We were talking about the NHL. At the end of the Super Bowl, all we want to talk about was the most skilled player in NHL history. And this was inspired by Mr. Tony Barbosa, who got this topic heated up in a hurry. Tried to show me some videos and stuff. I'm still not convinced, but I'm going to let him give you his case on our show. I'm also joined by Jose Gomes, who can't wait to hear this. And so, Mr. Barbosa, will you tell us who you believe is the most skilled player in the history of the NHL?
I don't like this guy. I'm not saying he's one of my favorite players, but he's got probably the best hands I've ever seen in a hockey player. It's Alex Kovalev. Listen, I know he's a very polarizing player, because for that much talent, the guy didn't have heart to play. He's lazy at most of the time, but when he played, he's very hard to defend. He's a very player to stop. I'm not, don't take it just from me. Okay. There's videos of NHL players talking about him. Even TSN a few years back had their top 10, and in their top 10 most skilled players, he was number 4. Ahead of him was only Wayne Gretzky, Bobby Orr, and Mario Lemieux.
Gee, I wonder why. Because they're better.
I'm not saying they weren't. You get okay. I said the best hand.
Because Connor McDavid wasn't in the league.
Huh?
Well, that's true. Connor McDavid wasn't in the league yet. That's true.
Yeah.
Hey, but listen, Connor McDavid just has speed. If I had speed, I could burn everybody. Yeah.
Speed.
I'll tell you right now, McDavid has better hands than Kovalev. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay.
That guy, did you see the goals
Kovalev is slow motion when he does things. McDavid does it at 99 miles an hour.
Listen, I get it. Kovalev is slow motion, but you're still hard to get the puck off.
Yeah. Okay. All you need to do is just slash him in the hands.
That's right. Slash him in the wrist. Oh.
Hey,
please, come on.
Doesn't matter. Hey, like I said, it's not just coming out of my mouth.
All right, tell us why you think, Barbosa. Tell us why you think.
Even Gretzky,
yeah,
what said this about him. The guy can grab the puck, take it to his end, skate back, deke everybody out, score the goal, take the puck out of the net, go back again, do the same thing and score again. This is Gretzky talking about.
So could Doug Gilmour. Don't worry.
This is Gretzky talking about Kovalev.
Even Nikolai Borshevsky can do that too.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, okay. You're comparing bananas and apples, buddy.
Yeah,
you're not comparing oranges and oranges here. You're comparing bananas and apples. Okay, you're comparing a tomato can compared to a fruit. Relax.
Jose, let's let Barbosa explain to us why he thinks this and give us his backup, and then we'll respond. Go ahead, Barbosa.
Like I said, he's one of the most. He's got the best hands He's one of the best hands I've ever seen in my life. Alex Kovalev. I haven't seen nobody do stuff like he does in a while. Maybe come close with Batsuk. That's about it. With his hands, with his hands, staying still, deking people out. He's one of the best players I've ever seen with his hands. So and like I said, I'm not talking just out of my ass. There's proof of other people talking about him, how much skill the guy has.
Okay, I think there are better players in NHL history, but I'll get to.
I'm not saying,
Jose.
Listen, I didn't say he's the best player.
Obviously, I'm talking about more skilled. There are more skilled players than Kovalev.
I'm talking about the most skilled. The guy's hands are unbelievable.
I believe there are better hands and better skilled players than Kovalev in the game, but I'll let Jose, you go ahead and give me yours, and don't say Peter Zezel or Nikolai Borshevsky.
How many do you want me to name more than him?
Oh, I got at least 10. Well, how many you got?
I can name
them off, and I'll tell you where they are.
Okay,
where they are.
Go ahead, Jose.
Behind them. Go ahead.
Connor McDavid.
Connor McDavid.
Yep, way better than Kovalev.
Okay.
Mario Lemieux.
That's 2.
Yeah, like I said, Hey, I said there's 4 players in this list
Sergei
that were
Fedorov
better.
had better hands than freaking
Fedorov wasn't
Alex
even in this.
Kovalev.
Fedorov wasn't even in this list. Okay, relax, buddy. Fedorov wasn't
cares?
even in this
Listen,
list. It's just to show you.
TSN. Who gives a shit what TSN says? But they're
Oh, here we
drunk
go.
at the time
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
Him
Okay,
and
go
Bob-
ahead.
Who made
Go
the
ahead.
list?
Go ahead.
Darren
Go
Dreger
ahead.
or Bob
Go
McKenzie?
ahead. Fedorov
Which
wasn't
one?
even close.
Please,
Go ahead.
come on. That doesn't even need to be close.
Yeah. Okay.
Look, who has better hands
ahead.
than him? Fucking Austin Matthews has better hands than that guy. You tell me Austin Matthews doesn't have better hands?
Go ahead. Keep going.
Mitch Marner has better hands than that guy.
Okay.
Buddy, Nikolai Bershkovsky, Peter Zezel, fucking David Osborne has better hands than those guys. Get the fuck out. Come on, bro. Get
Now
out
you're
of
just
here.
talking out of here. See, you're
Get out
you're
of here,
going,
bro, please.
You're going.
Even Doug Gilmore had better hands than fucking.
You're going. Listen, you're
Bro,
going.
even Doug Gilmore
by
had better hands
points, and you're
than
going
Alexei Kovalev.
by
Get out
the
of here,
heart
please.
of their players. I told you.
The heart of
I
the
don't
players.
like.
You
I
telling me
never liked
Doug Gilmore
Kovalev.
didn't
I'm
have
not a
hands?
big Kovalev fan,
Dude,
but I'm just stating facts. I'm just stating
okay,
facts.
and I'm stating facts to you too. You telling me Doug Gilmore back in the day didn't have better hands than Alexei Kovalev?
Okay, he did, Jose. You're right. You're right.
I'm not.
You're right. You're right.
Am I right, Reese? Who had better hand?
Okay, if
Kovalev or Doug Gilmore? Seriously.
No, I think Kovalev had better hands than Gilmore.
Get out of here, bro. Doug Gilmore was fucking skating around with that guy.
Gilmore played a different game. He wasn't
please.
playing Kovalev's game.
You guys,
Gilmore played with his mind.
Points, bud. You're just looking at points.
Gilmore played with his mind. He didn't play with his hands. Yeah. He played with his mind and his body. That's how
and
Gilmore played. But that's why he was loved so much in Toronto.
Kovalev doesn't have. Kovalev never had heart.
If we're talking about skill and hands, he
had skill in his hands. His hands are disgusting. Everybody says that guy's hands are the best hands they've ever seen. I'm not talking about, buddy. This is not just coming from me. I'm not talking about.
I understand that, dude. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of way better players than
if there is
players than he is.
If there is
large.
Do you want to give us your best one, Jose?
My best one is in our time, Connor McDavid. Back in the day, Mario Lemieux.
I'd say the best. I'm going to tell you right now, the best player I've ever seen is Mario Lemieux. He's the most skilled player I've ever seen in my life.
Then why are you telling me Kovalev is? Because my pick is Mario Lemieux. Mario Lemieux. I will go to my grave. I'll say any NHL player, Gretzky included, will tell you Mario Lemieux, who was number 1 on that TSN list for a reason.
Yes.
It has the best hands and the most skill we've ever seen in any NHL player. This is from a guy who loves Wayne Gretzky. And by the way, Gretzky was 3 on that list. And Gretzky was the smartest player who ever lived in the NHL. Now, if you look at Gretzky in his early days, he could do anything that Kovalev could do and better. Just go look at his early days when the guy was setting NHL records like you would not believe, scoring 1,000 points in under 500 games.
There's a different game.
Listen, don't start with this points bullshit because back in the day, the goalies.
Dude, I understand that. Listen, I'm not talking about points. I'm talking about
Reese,
when Gretzky was 18 years old, he was making players look stupid. Okay,
Reese, it was a different game.
I don't care about the points. We're not.
It's hard to say. That's why it's hard to say who's the greatest player ever. It's hard to say because the game has changed. The game is so different.
It's different eras. I get the different eras thing.
Even the 2000s and now to 2020.
Here's my thing with the eras. No one in Gretzky's era dominated like Wayne Gretzky. If it was easy, everybody would have done what Gretzky did. Right?
Lemieux came a little bit later. Lemieux started in 87.
Lemieux is the only player that came close to what Gretzky did. Nobody else came close. Right? Lemieux did it for a few years.
In the 90s, Lemieux was the best player. In the 90s, Lemieux by far was the best player.
That guy had crazy hands.
Yager did have crazy hands. Yager did have crazy
Yager
hands.
was number 9.
Yeah.
Yager was number 9 in that list.
That number, who cares a shit about that list? That list.
There we go. Okay, this is experts. You're king about lists, but these are guys that played with these guys in the NHL.
Remember, this is our opinion. Remember, this is our opinion.
You're going by your opinion.
Yeah.
You're going by your opinion. I'm going by, obviously my opinion and going by what other people are saying about these players.
But any of those players that you mentioned who were on that episode that I saw, Tony Barbosa, all said Lemieux was the most skilled player. All of them.
Okay, I get it.
He wore the same uniform as Kovalev. And they played together. Like,
Yes, they
I
did.
don't think people
Yes, they
I don't
did.
think people realize, like, I'm a Gretzky fan. I watched Mario Lemieux. Mario Lemieux was better than Gretzky hands wise. He could do things with the puck that not very many players could ever do because of his height. When you're 6'6" and you can drag the puck the way that he did, you can't get the puck off of him. You can slash Kovalev and get the puck. You can't do that with Mario Lemieux. Mario Lemieux would just brush you aside like you're a fly. Okay, he was able to lift the puck like a feather. Okay, he didn't even have to move his stick or his body. He just flicked it like he had such finesse. In his first ever shift, he made Bray Bork a Hall of
It
Fame,
wasn't his
multiple
first shift.
Norris Trophy
It wasn't his
defenseman.
first shift, but
Look
yes, he did
ridiculous
make
on
him
the
look
ice.
stupid.
Okay,
Yes, he
so
did. I seen
there
that.
there are very few players who can control the game and the puck like Mario Lemieux did. And I'll tell you this, Kovalev is now one of them. And as far as today's hockey goes, Connor McDavid would skate circles around Alexei Kovalev. I'm not even joking. When you can make
Almost
moves
everybody
with your
can skate.
hands
He's
at
slow.
that
He's
speed.
slow. I get it. He's slow. The guy is
No, but
slow.
even if
slow
I'm just
skater.
looking at it skill for skill, when you move with that kind of speed and you can
You better
do
have
things
good
with the
freaking-
puck, and let's not use McDavid. Let's go back to his era. Pavel Bure was better than Kovalev in his era. Way better. He could
That's your
move. He could
opinion.
shift. He could shift with the puck as well as him. He could move with the puck as well as him. He could do stuff with his skates, with his hands. He made defensemen look stupid in the center of the ice. He scored goals that Kovalev would never dream of scoring. We're talking about a guy in the same era who was also on that list who was behind Kovalev. I get it. He was behind Kovalev on the list. But I watched Pavel Bure, and I'm saying I've seen Pavel Bure do more things with the puck than I've seen Kovalev. And I watched Pittsburgh. I watched them play. I watched Kovalev in Pittsburgh.
When Kovalev is engaged in a game,
he was fourth on his own
Kovalev-
team, hands
when
and skills wise.
Kovalev is engaged in a game, that guy's hands
Yes.
are disgusting.
Agree with you.
I've never seen anybody like that. But he never.
We're
he doesn't
talking-
Have,
we're-
he doesn't have it. He didn't. He never.
Right.
It's like he was.
But
bored
that has
playing
to count
hockey.
for something,
Uh-huh,
Barco. So
okay, I
you
understand.
can't be
Listen.
a part-time player and be the
Listen,
best skilled player ever.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
I'm not. That's why I'm not. He's not even close to being one of the greatest players. I never said greatest player. I never said.
Yeah.
We're talking about
Yeah.
skill. We're talking about
Yeah.
hands.
Yeah,
Okay?
I
We're
think
not
he was fourth on his own team.
talking-
When he was in Pittsburgh, he was fourth on his own team,
as a player, but
even
skill-wise,
skill-wise. Yager, Lemieux, and Yager, Lemieux were better than him skill-wise on his own team. I mean,
all right.
I mean,
Proof-
I
hey,
just,
proof
I
is
don't
proof.
know.
Proof
I don't
is
know.
proof. It's on video. Other players talking about him. His peers.
Yeah. Well,
saying
other
he's
players
better-
talked about
saying
the other
he's better
players
than
too.
Yager. Saying he's better than Yager. Okay, that's not me. I'm
Okay,
not-
you know what?
that's not me.
Yager was more of a physical player, so maybe hands-wise,
Yager-
you could say
Yager was a
Kovalev
guy-
has
Yager
Yeah.
was a guy that you couldn't get the puck off because
right
he uses
because he was more
used his
physical.
rear.
Yes.
He used his rear
Yeah.
to protect.
So
the puck.
maybe
It's
if
like,
you're
listen,
talking just
to
pure
me-
hands,
hey,
yeah,
to me,
you could say
to me, listen, Peter Fork is a better player than Alexei Kovalev. But is he better? Is he more skilled? No.
I'll
I
take
think Peter
Datsuk's skill
Fork is
over
one
him.
of the best players I've ever seen. Peter Fork was one of the best players I've ever seen. One of the best. People are not gonna agree with me, but he's one of the best players I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Injuries will ruin his career.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Datsuk,
he's not skilled. He's not more
could go-
skilled than Kovalev.
I would have a hard time arguing that he's better than Datsuk skill-wise as well.
Hey, we're going. He was 10th
yeah.
on that list. He was 10th on that list.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Bro, how
like
old
I
was
said.
that list?
Huh?
Oh, I
How
don't
old
know
was
how
that
old it
list
was.
when it
Yeah.
came out?
A few years back.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
few years back.
Yeah, this
it
is
was
before
it was-
McDavid. Before
It was
McDavid.
before
Exactly.
McDavid.
So that's like
Yeah.
9 years. Like
Whatever.
ago.
It doesn't matter. Hey, we're talking about it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But
And-
again,
yes.
it doesn't mean that TSN is right either. Like that's their
Exactly.
opinion.
Hey,
That's their opinion.
it's
Just like Sportsnet
their
has their
and it's
opinion,
other
ESPN
players. Hey,
has
and
their
it's other
opinion.
players. It's other players.
Yes, but
You gotta
he's
remember,
fourth. Remember, he was
they voted
fourth,
other
not
players.
first.
I
Right?
get
He
it.
was fourth.
Listen, I get it. Yes, he's fourth behind
Okay.
behind Lemieux, Behind Bobby
Gretzky and Orr,
behind Gretzky.
which is
Yes,
right, which is correct. I agree with
Okay.
that list 100%. Yeah, I mean, if you want to go by that alone, that list is right. If you want to say Kovalev is fourth, I'm good. I'm not going to argue with fourth, but there's no way he's more skilled than Gretzky, Lemieux, or Bobby Orr. Bobby Orr, most of us didn't see. I watched Bobby Orr because my dad made me watch him. He would, from the defense position, nobody went around guys and had better hands than Bobby Orr in the 70s. Nobody. That's why he won 8 consecutive Norris trophies and a bunch of hearts and had 130.
People to this day still say he's the best. There's people that say he's the
there
best
are people
player
that
ever.
believe he's the best player ever ahead of Gretzky, and a lot of people will say Gretzky and then Orr, and then there's some Lemieux in there as well.
I can't say because I've never seen Bobby Orr play.
Right.
I've seen Lemieux. I've seen Gretzky.
Right.
I've seen.
I will go out and say it was Lemieux. But if it all depends on what you're saying. If you're talking about hands and skill, I'll say Lemieux. I won't argue that Kovalev was one of the better hands skill players in NHL history, not the best.
And I never said the best. We're talking about argument. I never said
I'm
best.
talking about.
I said he's one
we're
of the
talking
best.
about pure skill.
I said he's one of the best. I never said he was the best. And I said,
well, that's what we're saying here.
Best.
We're asking the question: who is the best?
No, at your house
player?
you said he was the best.
I never said he was the best. I said one of the best.
No, at your house at the Super Bowl, he said
you said he was the best.
Hands I've seen. Okay, I'll stick to that.
Right,
the best hands you've seen. And we started laughing because then we started naming players and stuff like that. That's what we were saying.
So Barbosa has Kovalev, and you and I have Lemieux. Now, if we're talking about smartest, it's Gretzky, and it's not close. Goal scoring wise,
I can put McDavid there too, because you have to be pretty smart at that speed. You have to be pretty smart to be a hockey player, especially moving at that speed.
Nobody in the history of the league saw the ice better than Wayne Gretzky. It's not even close. The guy has more assists than anyone has points in the history of the NHL. The guy played from behind the net and saw players that nobody saw.
Let me tell you something.
You have to be pretty smart. Hey,
if McDavid played in Gretzky's era with those nets and those goalies, McDavid could put up exactly the same points as.
Yeah, but you got to remember, Jose, hold on.
Please, Jose, you could also hit people back then.
Jose, McDavid wouldn't be as quick as he is in today's NHL. There's a difference. Like
the game was slower. The game was slower.
There's different training.
Okay, so but he still
there's different training. Just the training alone. Just the training alone is different.
He would not have been brought up the way that he was brought
up.
This is the argument. This is why I always tell people.
Or mute.
You can't compare eras. Wayne Gretzky, when he came up into the league, he was having hot dogs and Coke as his meal. Like Doug Gilmour's eating pasta before games. They were smoking cigarettes. Like if Gretzky played in today's hockey with he was already the best player at age 13. Imagine if he had all the training, all the vitamins, all the supplements, personal trainers, chefs, flights, private jet flights like they have now, treated like kings in every game. How much better do you think Gretzky could have been with the equipment they have today, with the sticks they have today?
I don't think Gretzky would put up so many points as he did back in the day.
He wouldn't have got 3,000, but he would still be great. And he would still put up 2,000.
He would be great. Right? Yeah, 100%. He would be great. But I don't think he would be putting up those numbers like he did back in the day. I'll tell you right now, man.
No, because with these goalies
nowadays, and yeah, that's it. I'm
not
saying
the argument I will make is this: he wouldn't have put up as many points, but he still would have been a great player and possibly better.
Yeah,
he would have been better today than he was then because he would have been a more souped-up version of himself. He just wouldn't have put up the points because of the way the game's played today, and that's why you can't compare eras. It's the most difficult thing. What you can say is Bobby Orr dominated the 70s, Gretzky dominated the 80s, Lemieux dominated the 90s. And then we had 2000 was kind of the dead puck era. Goaltenders dominated. We had Hasek as a two-time MVP. We had Theodore.
Crosby,
so you can say Crosby in the later 2000s. I think he started in 2007. So later 2000s.
2000s was all about the goalies.
Right.
It was all
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. It was the goalies in 2000. Yeah. And then towards the 2010s, it was Crosby and Ovechkin, although this is the Crosby era because he's won it all. Well, and now you're into the McDavid era.
You got Chicago there too with Tays and Kane.
Yes, but
too.
if we're talking about player, this is the Crosby era.
Yeah.
If we're talking about player, right? And now we're in the McDavid era. So you've got 5 players who legitimately could be put in the top 5 of the NHL. And even Lemieux's era was very short because remember, he only played 9 full seasons. And so he sort of came in the 90s, so you could just say 90s for him, right? So you have 5 players there that could easily be the best player ever, all in different eras. And so it's very difficult. Even Doug Gilmour only played 2 seasons in Toronto, although he's talked about like he's the greatest Leaf of all time. And so like it's hard.
No, I played 4 seasons in Toronto.
He didn't play much. I think he played 2.5 seasons.
4 seasons.
4 seasons?
He came in 92, the 92 season. And then I think he left the 96 season. And he was still.
He got traded to New Jersey. Yeah,
I think it was in 96.
Yeah.
They still had their slower years.
Right. Okay, so that's the most skilled. A hot topic to say the least. It's a tough thing to grade. But it all depends on what you think skill is. It's more than just hands. To me, Gretzky's ability to pass the puck to people that no one else saw is a skill as well. And so if we're talking just hands, then you can talk about Kovalev in high regard. But if you're talking about the entire game, I don't think Kovalev is anywhere near the top 100 of players in NHL history.
I never said he's the greatest player. I said
skill can be more than just hands. Skill can be how you use your mind, how you use your speed, how you use your weight, like Jágr uses his hips. There's a lot of different skills in the NHL. But if we're talking just hands, then yeah, you can put Kovalev near the top because he had great hands. But a lot of players had great hands in those days because you had to be shifty to get around players. Now, the thing about McDavid is this. I think people forget how the 80s and 90s were. In the 80s, he would have got hit. You can't touch McDavid now. What do you think Scott Stevens would have done to McDavid as he's cutting through the ice making those moves? He would have dropped him on his ass, and he would have knocked him out like he did Lindros.
Are you fucked or what?
Are you telling me that Stevens wouldn't have lined him up? He would have lined him up,
but McDavid would have freaking blown by him, bro.
Listen, every player that plays now would get rocked by Scott Stevens.
Yeah. Mario Lemieux left the NHL because he was getting drilled, and he was a big man.
Shot artist, dude. Like who?
Hey, I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm not saying he wasn't.
He was a cheap shot artist.
He was the best open ice hitter.
He was a little pussy when Ty Domi came to fight him. He didn't even want to fight him.
Pronger was just more.
No, what Ty Domi did was be an idiot and sucker punch Scott Niedermayer and cost his Leafs the series. That's what he did.
Hitter. Scott Stevens was the best open ice hitter.
Yes, but back then the game was different. He would have got hit. McDavid doesn't get touched now. Like he would have got hit. Like that's what I'm trying to say.
Would have ruined him. Lindros would have ruined him.
Well, Lindros got ruined by Stevens. So
yeah, exactly.
And he was a great skater with great hands, right? We can all agree that Lindros was a great skater with great hands.
Yeah.
Right?
He won. Didn't he win a Hart?
Did he win one Hart? Yes, he won one Hart, I believe, in Philadelphia right before his concussions. When the Legion of Doom was there.
Yeah, it was the Legion of Doom. Exactly.
And he had great hands. He was big. He had great hands. He was fast. He was a larger size McDavid for a long period of time. But we never got to see it because he got hurt, right? So there's a lot of players that we're probably even forgetting that had great hands and had great skills. So but that's up for debate and up for opinion. Guys, I want your feedback on this. I want you to tell me who you believe
comment down below.
Was the most skilled player that you've ever seen. I want you to tell me why. I want you to comment. I know David out there, Anthony, and my friend from the neighborhood will tell you Datsuk all day. He will defend Datsuk like Barbosa did Kovalev till the day he dies, and he'll tell me it was Datsuk forever. Okay, there are actually a lot of people that we know would say Datsuk, Jose,
and I bet you a lot of people will say Patrick Kane too.
I mean, we didn't even talk about Patrick Kane. He's got great hands. But we don't look at him as that kind of player, even though.
Or even Trevor Zegras has great hands.
That's true.
Listen.
Yeah.
The guy, hey, The guy's got good hands.
right?
Is he going to be that hockey player that, that could be considered more than just great hands?
Yeah, we don't know, right? So like there's a lot of players. So guys, I'm gonna send this out. I'm gonna make sure as many people as we know read this. I want you guys to go to my page of the Reese Report 627. Go to my page, make your comments. Let me know what you think. Tell me, comment, and let me know. Who do you think it is? Do you disagree with us? Do you think Barbosa's crazy? Is there someone else out there who we've forgotten, who we haven't even mentioned on this show? Do you think Austin Matthews has great hands? Mitch Marner. I mean, I don't think they're in the category of great hands players. I think they use their minds more than their hands. But
Now,
using your mind is a skill.
If you're to say who's got one of the best shots you've ever seen, yeah, you could put Matthews in that category.
Matthews,
100%.
Ovechkin. I mean, Ovechkin is close to 1 for shot.
But Ovechkin is just a clapper.
But that's what I mean. Ovechkin wouldn't have 900 goals without a great shot.
Clapper, exactly, with that shot. 100%.
Ovechkin would be near the top.
If you're going to compare guys in the slot to shoot a puck, Sakic probably number 1 for me. This is for me. Probably Sakic. He's got one of the best shots I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's true. Wrist shot. Yep.
Maybe Yari Curry up there.
Yari Curry had one of the best wrist shots that we've ever seen.
Yeah. Wendell Clark had a crazy wrist shot too. So
he did. He did.
But
come on, man.
I think Ovechkin
never got 50 goals.
Ovechkin in his office, buddy. There's nobody that can touch that guy in his office.
Ovechkin would.
He's close to beating Wayne Gretzky's record, and it's not by freaking stick that like freaking deking out players. He's just bombs from that same slot all the time. And this you can't stop.
It's a skill. It's
100%.
Steven Stamkos also is great from that spot. He scored a lot of his goals from there, set up by Martin St. Louis. But Ovechkin, to me, without that shot, he's not the goal scorer he is.
Nothing.
So I think that his shot has got to be near the top. McInnes had the hardest shot I've ever seen. Although Chara is harder, I think if McInnes had Chara's stick, he would have beaten Chara's hardest shot. McInnes was shooting with a wood stick like 130 miles an hour. Like, it was just insane. He was scoring from center ice, some of his shots. I mean, Gretzky had one of the best shots ever, had no curve on his stick, and had like Hespler, like one of the worst sticks imaginable, and was still roofing slap shots. Man.
He had a Titan.
He had Hespler for a while. No, I'm telling you, he had a Hespler stick and bought the company. I'm not gonna. It was in his store, in his video, how he had a Hespler stick late in the 90s and bought the company. I don't know what happened to the company after that, but
that was Easton.
So.
In the late
he had a Jofa helmet. Remember the Jofa helmet? One of the worst helmets ever. I can't believe he didn't have more concussions, Gretzky, with that helmet. Like, it would always come off.
Nobody went near him. That's because nobody.
Nobody touched Gretzky. Yeah, nobody touched Gretzky. See, that's another thing. McDavid would have been protected by goons. That's something that might have helped McDavid as well. There are no goons in today's hockey. There's no protection of players. Players can get hit. They can get thrown into. Well, are there more injuries now or more injuries in the past? I feel like there have been more injuries now.
Well, it's different. The game's a lot faster, man. You're going, these guys are flying at 40 miles an hour or 50 miles an hour in their skates. You're colliding with another human being.
The game's faster.
Buddy.
Yes.
You're gonna and the equipment's a little bit heavier.
Yeah, the equipment's bigger.
Elbow pads. We're back in the day where you have elbow pads and shoulder pads like they do now. It was like a
you gotta remember, this is more of a high-paced game. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was a slower-paced game. Was more clutch, was more grabbing, more hooking. It was different. It's different.
Like the game, like you could get away with hooking someone in the past. I think you could try to slow down McDavid with hooking and holding, and you can get away with it back in the 80s. I don't think you can do that now. The Flyers were the best at it when they played Gretzky. They were able to slow him down a lot with hooking, holding, little cheap tactics and stuff like that.
They couldn't
which
hold
is
them
why.
enough to win the Stanley Cup.
Well, they got him to
Look
7.
at
I
the
think they're
team
the
that
only
they
team. Yeah,
Was it?
look
yeah.
at the team that Edmonton had back in the day with him,
No, for sure.
Messier, Curry's, Coffee's, like Jesus Christ. You can
They
go
were
on
loaded.
Turner.
Yeah,
like
What's his
Glenn
face?
Anderson,
Glenn Anderson, yeah, McTavish was
Essa
playing without no
Tikkanen,
helmet.
Essa
Tikkanen,
Tikkanen.
McTavish,
Paul Coffey. They were absolutely
They
loaded.
were
Edmonton.
loaded.
Smith on the back end.
Yeah,
Grant Fuhr, freaking
Grant Fuhr and
Bill
Andy
Ranford.
Moog, Bill Ranford.
Andy
Like
Moog,
they had 3 good
Andy Moog.
goalies.
And then Bill
Yeah,
Ranford.
those
And
guys
then
were
Bill
all loaded.
Ranford was the goalie.
Yeah. Like they were absolutely loaded. They took advantage of the draft for years, which is why it's kind of funny now that Edmonton, it took them like 6 drafts and for 6 #1 picks to get Connor McDavid. So
Well, they fucked up in a lot of the draft.
they did. But yeah, the Oilers they had to change the rules. Remember, they took off the tag up offside because Oilers were just killing teams on tag up offsides. They took away the red line, so you couldn't make 2-line passes. Like it could have been even more points. As crazy as that sounds,
was way after the 2-line passes was. They even had it was after the 90s.
Yeah, they took out the red line for us because teams weren't scoring any goals because the neutral zone trap and the Devils trap was winning every game. So, right, the Devils changed the game, man. Hey, the Devils changed the game in the 90s.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and the rule changes were because of the Devils, 100%. They had to start calling hooking and holding. They had to take out the red line. They had to give the tag up rule back because and then the stupid trapezoid. I think they got to get rid of that trapezoid. Like they did that for Martin Brodeur, and really to me,
you know what? That's good. Like it's good like that because that makes the goalies play less behind the net. It makes them not get injured. It's leave that. It's pretty good. And then if they play it behind the net, they get a penalty. No, it's good like that.
One of the other things that they did, they made the net behind the nets bigger. So if you watch Gretzky back in the 80s and 90s, the nets there was a lot less space behind the net.
No,
they actually
the same.
They actually moved it out. No, if you look, there's more space behind the nets now than there was then. So you can't stay behind the net like he did in the past and wait for someone to come out because you chase him behind the net, you're going to get caught. Now there's more space. It's easier to check him from behind the net. So they did adjust the ice size slightly when they moved the trapezoid, and that changed the game from behind the net. So you don't see as many players staying behind the net waiting for guys to score. You never see that play anymore. Instead, you see cycling all the time, nonstop cycling. That's what you see in the NHL, which can get kind of boring sometimes. But
that's because of the Devils.
Yeah. I mean, the Colorado did it excellent for years too with Forsberg, Sakic, and the boys. Just cycle all day. Forsberg is so underrated. Like Forsberg, you want to talk about someone who had hands? Forsberg had great hands.
He wasn't known for his hands. His style is more like Crosby. Crosby's not.
Yeah.
Crosby is just a skilled third liner.
A skilled third liner.
Yes. Meaning.
What are you talking about?
He's a guy that goes in the dirty areas, not afraid to go in the dirty areas. He's just more skilled in that, and he can't get the puck off him.
Okay, hold on. We only got 6 minutes here, and I don't want to kill my friend Barbosa. Did you just say that Crosby was a skilled third liner? Are you out of your mind? Crosby has some of the best hands I've ever seen. The guy's like batting pucks from midair everywhere he goes.
Okay, that's not what I'm saying. What did I say?
Are you out of your mind?
Listen to what I'm saying.
He plays like a third liner. That's what he's trying to say.
Exactly.
Yes.
But
he likes to go into the corners. Yes.
Yes. He fights for the puck. He retrieves the puck. He fights for. That's what I'm saying, Reese. I'm not saying he's a plug. That's not what I'm saying.
But if we're talking about hands, Crosby has great hands. Look at the tips. Look at the hitting it out of midair. Look at the backhands. Look at the skill when he has the puck, dude. Like. You didn't tell me Crosby doesn't have great hands. You need to watch more video.
Did I say he didn't have great hands? What did I just say?
You're telling me Crosby's not skilled.
Did I ever say he's not skilled?
Okay. All right.
He plays like a third liner. He plays like goes into the dirty areas. He retrieves pucks.
More players should do that.
Way more skilled than that. That's
More
what I
players
said.
should do that. More players should do that. Go in the corners. Mitch Marner should go in the corners more.
It's not his style of game.
I know, but he
It's not
should.
his
It
style
would
of
help.
game.
It would help the Leafs win more than once in the last
Listen.
7 years of the playoffs. But
No, he's been improving. He's been improving, getting now Nylander on the other.
Most improved Leaf is Nylander. It's not even close. He's the most improved Leaf on the whole team. It's not close.
He still needs to battle. He still needs to get that pucks in the boards and stuff like that. He still needs to battle a little bit more. But
hey man, all I know is Hyman has 67 points in Edmonton right now. So
here we go. With Hyman has 67. Yeah,
because he goes and gets the puck in the corner.
If the Leafs had money to pay
you
him,
can have 67 points too playing with Connor McDavid and Draisaitl. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't play with both, but yes, I understand what you're saying.
And you play on that power play. Hey, listen, I can.
He never had 67 points in Toronto. I'll tell you that.
Well, that's because he didn't need to get 67 points in Toronto.
Well,
but Michael Bunting has that many. What? Michael Bunting has how many points? What? 40 something.
What I'm saying, my point is not that Hyman's better than whoever. My point is that the Leafs would benefit from playing a lot more like Hyman. The guy goes into the dirty areas. He gets the puck. He does all the dirty work and gets rewarded. That's what I'm saying. The Leafs need to learn to play in dirty areas more.
Michael Bunting does that. Michael Bunting does that.
He's the only guy who does it. Their whole team needs to do it more.
Okay, so you're telling me McDavid needs to do that? And Draisaitl
McDavid does do it. McDavid does do it.
What?
McDavid does do it. Watch him.
He does.
He does do it.
And so does Draisaitl.
Yes.
In the board.
Yes. Did you watch them in the playoffs last year? Yes, they do.
100%, man. 100%, dude.
I watched the Oilers games on Saturday nights. They do it. McDavid has played better defensive hockey this year than he ever has in his life. Yeah. He's chasing guys down. He's chasing guys down who have the puck in front of him and getting breakaways. Dude, this guy is a different player. He's doing it on both ends. He's going into the corners to get the puck. He's doing it all this year, despite Edmonton's record, because Jack Campbell sucks. Okay? But despite the fact they had Cody Ceci and Tyson Barrie in their top pairing with Nurse, that team is there because of McDavid and Draisaitl doing all the dirty work. They got nobody else on that team. I mean, they're being carried by two players. They're 1 and 2 in scoring for a reason. They're being carried by two players. They both reached 500 points, by the way, in like 500 games or something like that. They're the only two players to ever do it. And in this era, it's unbelievable. They got to the semis last year. They got a goalie, hoping that would solve their issues, but that may not be the case. But if I'm the Leafs, I've got to get farther than the first round.
That's what happens when you have 40% of your salary on two players.
Well, that's the Leafs.
No, that's Edmonton, buddy.
No, Edmonton. Draisaitl's on the best deal in the history of hockey. He's making $8.5 million.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
$8.5 million. Yeah, it's the best contract in the history of the NHL. $8.5 million.
Him and Pasternak.
Yes, and Marchand
is in his last year, eh? Just let you know.
6 point. Yeah, he's going to get paid.
Yeah,
but Marchand and Pasternak are on the best deals ever. But Draisaitl blew them away.
But I'll tell you this: Pasternak is going to get a hefty payday.
Yes, he will.
Or he can do a Marchand and just sign with the Boston Bruins for less money.
For that much money, you'd be stupid.
Okay, but like that makes his team competitive. You take less money and you make your team competitive.
But if I was him right now, I'd leave or sign for as much money because Thing is going to retire. Bergeron's going to retire, and Marchand's not far behind.
He'll get paid because Bergeron and Krejci have not many years left. But we only have a minute left. I love this conversation. I wish it could go on forever. Guys, please comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Comment. And be sharing this video a lot. I'm the mouth of North Andrews. That's Tony Barbosa with Jose Gomes. We will see you next time on the Reese Report.